After being under lockdown for months, countries in Europe have kick-started their businesses and are reopening borders to revive the staggered tourism sector. However, the same European Union nations are unlikely to allow travelers from the USA. A New York Times report suggests that EU nations have come up with a collective decision to not allow tourists coming in from America. The report, which cites an unnamed EU official, claim that EU nations have shared 2 draft lists of acceptable travelers. However, the document has not been made public yet. Apart from the Americans, the 2 draft lists would not allow travelers from Russia and Brazil, the top 3 affected countries by the deadly coronavirus. As of now, it is also not clear whether officials in the White House are aware of this decision taken by the EU nations. The decision taken by the European Union comes at a time when European nations are reeling under massive financial and economic pressure due to the pandemic. However, EU officials have confirmed that they would reconsider the list and are likely to allow American travelers provided COVID-19 cases drop significantly across the USA in the coming weeks. In Europe, countries are easing lockdown measures and are reopening borders with neighbors. But with the recent spike in infection rates across America, experts in Europe have advised against international travel and have also warned about a second wave of infections. The United States is by far the worst affected nation by the lethal coronavirus pandemic, with over 2.34 million cases and around 123,000 deaths till now. Joining us on this broadcast is WION's Lucy who joins us live from Brussels for more on this. Lucy, this will be a massive decision taken by the European Union. On one hand, Europe is trying to revive its tourism sector. On the other hand, tourists from America, Brazil and Russia may be barred because cases are still spiking in those countries, isn't it? America has more than 2.3 million coronavirus cases.
Yes, that's right. It's by far the worst affected country globally, with a death toll over 100,000, as you were just outlining there. But I think this is likely to be a real blow for US President Donald Trump, and an assessment from EU leaders and a very negative one of his handling of the COVID-19 crisis. Clearly, EU nations do not think that it is safe for American visitors to be making their way into the bloc as it tries to reopen its external borders and start welcoming in tourists from around the world. So what we're hearing from this leaked draft that was shown to the New York Times, that EU ambassadors are looking at 2 draft lists. On the one hand, China is included as approved on both of those lists, but the US is not included on either. The US joining other countries such as Russia and Brazil being deemed not safe enough to travel into the bloc. But as you were saying there, the EU is desperate to revive its tourism industry, which at the peak season is worth some 150 billion euros. So as EU countries have started to open their internal borders within the 26 member state Schengen zone, which is a border-free area, it is now looking to start welcoming in international tourists. So that's a decision that's likely to be taken early next week, with the borders due to reopen on July the 1st.
Absolutely, Lucy, and I'm not sure if Donald Trump will be able to complain, isn't it? Because Donald Trump had also barred European travelers from entering America on the onset of the coronavirus crisis. But do elaborate more on European Union's plan to revive its tourism sector. What are the plans in place? By when will European countries start accepting international tourists?
So the plan is due to start on July the 1st, but as I say, a decision will be taken early next week. This was essentially a 2-phased approach that was announced around a month ago, set out by the European Commission as a way of reopening its borders and reviving its tourism industry. So on June the 15th, we had the reopening of the borders of a number of key European countries, such as Germany, here in Belgium, France as well. Spain has opened some somewhat later, but its borders are now open to international travellers from around the EU. But what we are going to see is that from July the 1st, the external borders of the European Union starting to reopen. So travellers from other countries, as I say, China is on the list of countries that will be able to travel in, as are developing countries such as Uganda and Vietnam as well. But, crucially, the US is left off that list. But as you were just outlining there, when Donald Trump made that decision in March to block EU travellers from coming into the US, that was met with huge hostility and resentment here in Europe. There was condemnation of that decision that was taken unilaterally. But what we are seeing is perhaps a taste of US President Donald Trump's own medicine here, with the sense that this has not been a decision that's been taken with the consultation of the Trump administration.
Lucy, thank you so much for joining us. We are not yet sure if White House is aware of this draft by EU, but we will certainly keep an eye out for any American reaction.